Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome to the show. We're wrapping up a trilogy this week. If you've been following along with us, we're talking about Pitch Perfect because this month, September, I don't remember if it's this month. This year is the 10th anniversary of the first movie. I think they even put it back in theaters for a little bit at some point, but we're talking about Pitch Perfect 3 this week. What I think and hope is the final movie. They are doing a TV show we've talked about, but I don't think there are plans for any more movies, at least with these characters. So Pitch Perfect 3 brings us to, gosh, what year was that? 15? I had to pull it up.
The first I think
2017.
was 2017 here.
2017. So we got most, again, of the key players are back, a couple new additions, although in my opinion, outside of John Lithgow, not really any decent big people added to the cast this year.
No, if anything, they kind of pared it down.
They did, and we'll talk about that because I do quick survey. Did all three of us not like this movie?
Yeah, I think that's might be fair to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I want to start first because I did have a couple notes of some positive things I did want to say that I liked.
Okay.
Even though I thought the movie was not good. There were some choices that I made that they made that wasn't so terrible. So in this movie, I guess I forgot to set up the basic premise for anyone who hasn't seen it. The Bellas are now, or at least the Bellas as we know them, are well out of college, working their own jobs. They're brought back for a Bella reunion where they get to see the new squad led by Haley Steinfeld and then a bunch of new people. And they get drawn into a USO tour through some weird kind of shenanigans, and then DJ Khaled's there, and it just kind of goes off the rails. But that's the basic premise. So what I did like is that I appreciated that they took the movie out of the college setting. I don't agree with the choice, but I like that they did it. I appreciated seeing them out of their element, and I like that they put the Bellas head to head with full bands this time instead of other a cappella groups. So they got to also be out of their element there and be shown that, oh, you're actually not that great at everything you thought you were. And I like also that basically every Bella peaked in college and they are all these kind of like losers now outside of college. And so seeing them have to build themselves back up were all choices that I liked. And now I'm done saying all I liked about the movie. I don't agree with any of the choices, but I do like the attempt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you can go, Garrett, if you like.
So this movie's not good.
It's not.
However, I think I appreciate the choices that they made. Because if you would have given me another thing of them in college doing the same thing, I would have hated it, right? I went into this with very low expectations. You know what? I got a pitch perfect spoof of a Mission Impossible, and I weirdly enjoyed that. I enjoyed that they incorporated some of the acapella stuff into the spoof of a spy genre. I enjoyed John Lithgow getting a chance to be ridiculous and over the top. I enjoyed the fact that it wasn't just them doing the same thing. And that was my main complaint about the second one, is that the second one just leaned into being pitch perfect. Whereas Pitch Perfect was its own thing and it was fun. This didn't lean into the same two, which I appreciated, which I expected. And I was expected to be really let down by that. This one, a completely different direction. It led into the ridiculousness. It's not a good movie, but it was entertaining.
I'm gonna say this is gonna be, I don't know if this is true. I think I like this better than the second one. But that's not to say that I like this one that
I
much at
didn't
all.
like it better than the second.
Yeah.
Like
I think I understand what you mean, David.
Like
I
when
think I agree.
like what Garrett said and like what Josh said, taking off on the things they said and how they agree with me, this one had a better sense of what it wanted to be. Whereas Pitch Perfect 2 was, we talked about it, was scattered, it was uneven, it had too many attempts at different stories. This had basically an A story and a B story, right? It was Becca doing her thing, right? And then it was Amy and her dad. That was the two. So they kept it simple, right? Kept it focused. The movie does one of those. I laughed so hard because the movie opens with this event happening on a boat, and then it, dun dun dun, right? And then they fade to black, and I said out loud 3 weeks later or 3 weeks earlier. Fine, and then it came up and I went, yes, I nailed the exact time frame 3 weeks earlier. In the words of my wife, Nikki, the real one prop, they waited way too long. They should not have taken 3 movies to get to a Britney song. This movie opens with Toxic. They should have been doing Britney songs.
I agree with her on that. Absolutely.
The movie is weird, and that's fine. The first one's weird at times, but this is the kind of thing that I kind of expected from Pitch Perfect 2. Not necessarily the kidnapping and all that stuff on the ship and anything like that, but like the worldwide thing. Like they were talking about, hey, we're going to go worldwide. And this one, they're going to Italy, they're going to Morocco, they're going to all these other different places. They're globetrotting. And I was like, this is what I expected from the last movie. And now we're getting it with the globetrotting thing. It kind of feels to me like the second movie should have been them doing like a world competition and doing a lot of globetrotting. And then the third movie, yeah, they're graduated from college. They become an actual group together, and then they do something a la America's Got Talent or some other kind of like big competition.
Well, even the way that this movie ended would have been a great ending. And it concludes everything because it allows them to become that professional group, because you got DJ Khaled sitting there for some damn reason. I can't figure out why, just because it's DJ Khaled.
It was 2017, 2016 when they were filming it.
Exactly.
Another
like
one.
That. And so like that is, I agree. They missed some opportunities, but like the ending of this is a good ending for the Bellas, even though it weirdly is like supposed to back its send off. She's like, come up with me. And then it was like, oh my God, let's just make this whole thing a thing.
We've known for a while that the Bellas are actually secretly dorks. Even though they're the stars of the movie,
Sure.
they are an a cappella group in college, which is dork central, okay? As hot as they all are, they are dorks, right? And they have never looked more like dorks than having Ruby Rose and the Whiskey Shivers completely show them up at their own game of playing a riff off. They looked like doofuses.
Did, and that part actually made me pain a little bit. Like it caused pain. Because it was like, oh, you ladies haven't grown up at all, have you?
No, and they get kind of embarrassed by like, what? No, I'm not going to say real artists, because I do think that a cappella music is, I think, a really challenging thing to do. But these other artists just take everything they think they do special and like, add instruments to it.
And they also get embarrassed because to them, to the Bellas, everything is a competition, and the Evermoist and the Whiskey Shivers. I don't remember what
their band name in the movie was. Saddle Up, but
Saddle
I'm
Up.
pretty sure we thought we
Evermoist and Saddle Up, and then the two guys, they just turn it into a big jam session where it's just like we're all having fun playing music, and the Bellas are like, "Why aren't we competing?" Because they're dorks.
Yeah,
who can't just enjoy the music.
Yeah, it's so. I thought it was really, and yeah, the DJ Khaled thing is strange. I thought that, I don't mind that. I honestly, I bet for a long time it was blank name, blank famous singer in this spot. And like they got DJ Khaled by the end of, by the time.
This series was due for an obligatory celebrity cameo like that. Unfortunately, it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And for the time frame, DJ Khaled does make sense.
Yeah, that they were kind of out of like consequential ideas for what they wanted to do just by the opening of the movie, just by the idea of them performing on a boat for Mysterious Businessman and then Fat Amy pulling a James Bond-esque rescue. You knew like, oh gosh, this is starting off in a bad way.
Fat Amy Winehouse was a great joke.
Pretty good.
There were still some good jokes in here. I think where I struggle with it so much is like, it's like if you told a kid to go do the laundry and they did it, and then you went into the garage and the garage was full of soap. You'd be like, you did the laundry, but you made a big mess. So like you took my notes and you ruined it. And that's how it feels like, okay, you did do everything I wanted you to do, but I don't like how you did any of it.
So this franchise started off.
Took away, like I talked about in the last movie, why is there a relationship situation with Bumper and Amy and Skylar and Hannah Kendrick? And then they dropped them from this movie. Yep. Great. You decided to not do it. I'm actually okay with that. Good choice.
Yeah. They just said, now we're done with this.
That's why I feel like, you can look at the first one and then you can skip the second one and then you can go into the third one, because the third one just leans into, again, it takes some of the fun stuff And it doesn't expand on any of the stories. You get another ridiculous premise and you get another silly thing. And the Bellas are doing a silly thing and a silly premise. And that is funny. It's kind of like again, for me, it's like an Austin Powers spoof on a spy genre, right? Like you're just using acapella in place of Austin Powers. And I thought it was entertaining. I mean, it's not good, but it was entertaining.
No, it is entertaining.
And still, again, the mashups are still entertaining. It's not as funny. Nothing is memorable. I mean, it is literally, it feels too long for an hour and a half. It feels no longer, it feels just as long as 2, which is 2 hours.
It feels
And that's
just as
not
long.
good, but it feels just as long, even though it's not. So it's just, it's incredibly forgettable outside of the hour and a half of which you go, you know what? This is better than I thought.
I'm going to make a comparison here. The first Pitch Perfect, we talked about the sports movie analogy. First Pitch Perfect is kind of like Dodgeball with, Ben Stiller, right? It's kind of a silly movie. It's a weird sport, but it's kind of all within the realm of like, this could happen.
Yeah.
This is more like a Will Ferrell movie, like a Eurovision Song of Fire and Ice or whatever, because this is like it's just so over the top in some places. It's so dependent on like cameos and things like that like even the stuff that I think is supposed to be heartfelt, like Becca's big moment, just kind of feels like, I guess. Like I
All
guess
of that feels,
I mean, I feel like none of that.
unnecessary,
I feel like all of them are equally as talented as Becca.
Agreed. And that's why it doesn't make sense to separate them. The goal, again, and that's why the ending of the movie doesn't make sense. It's supposed to be DJ Khaled picked Becca because she's the most talented one. And the best thing she did was bring the Bellas on day, and then the whole thing was good. So why wouldn't he want to sign them on? It doesn't make sense in the storytelling perspective, but it just, so like that whole thing with Becca, and that was the problem with the second one too, is that it should have never been about her individual professional growth. That's not what the story is.
Another element that I'd like to address is that, as Josh said, they dropped Skylar Astin. Young Zachary Levi was dropped for young Adam Scott, who does his best in this movie to be a love interest.
That guy does look like Adam Scott. I thought it was for a really long time.
Wait, who are we talking about?
That guy just in this one.
Khaled's producer or whatever.
Until I heard his British accent, I was like, is that Adam Scott?
I gotta go back now and look at a picture of him.
He looks in this movie for like a couple of the early frames. He looks just like Adam Scott, but like really young. And like if you go back and you look at young Adam Scott when he was on Boy Meets World, he's a pretty good looking guy. Not to say he's not good looking now. He's just 35 years older than that.
Adam Scott on Boy Meets World. That is
You look it up. He's a pretty good looking kid back then.
okay. I can see
probably like
Adam
28
Scott.
then.
It's the eyes. It's the eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't think about it until you brought up trading young Zachary Levi for young Adam Scott, but I kind of miss the troublemakers. There's no troublemakers in this movie, and I think you need them. Like they cut out some characters and some moments and things that I feel like make Pitch Perfect. Like I miss the troublemakers. I miss Reggie Watts' weird band, like who are the old men who are always there.
Yeah.
Like if they could find a way to give John Michael Higgins and Elizabeth Banks a purpose, they could have given them a purpose too.
And I got to be honest, I should have said it last week. Their bit's tired.
They're very tired in this movie.
It was rough in the second one, but again, it goes back to it was fine for the second one. You just didn't give me anything more. This one, they was tired. Yeah.
There was no growth of it in the second one. And so it was just it was a little bit stale, but it was
only
hardly the biggest problem of the movie. And here it's just like, I just wanted them gone. You could cut every scene they're in, and I don't think the movie
Yes,
like.
because their purpose was basically to be nothing more than just color commentating for the a cappella competitions. And when there are no longer a cappella competitions, I don't want them anymore. They're like, I don't want to see them produce a documentary.
No.
I don't want to see them host a podcast.
No. Like, you either need to have this movie be about a cappella competitions and have them in it, or have it be about something else like they did and not have them in it. It just doesn't make sense.
And that's where the trio doesn't necessarily make sense. It lost its voice. It doesn't, like, overall, it doesn't know what it wanted to be. Like, the first one, again, it took a sports movie and it spoofed it. This one, it took a spy movie and it spoofed it. The middle one tried to expand on the story of the people in the spoof, and I think that was the mistake.
Yeah.
Either this one should have ran with it, or the second one should have been a spoof on another movie incorporating the Bellas and something.
Well, I'm basing this on nothing more than my hunch, but I would have a hard time believing this was intended to be a franchise. I think they were probably surprised that the first Pitch Perfect was such a big hit. And so they were like, well, let's keep the story going. And they tried.
And what's the problem with that's the whole idea of the original so many sequels?
Exactly.
Why we're back to this kind of franchises, seeing how these wit, sometimes there is a purpose for them. And sometimes it is like, this movie made money, keep making more.
And I,
Perfect example.
it is, because I do think there is a world where like a good Pitch Perfect trilogy exists, but they just didn't land it well here. So like, I don't know. It's not that they shouldn't have made sequels, but like, they should have made these sequels. Maybe like, I can see it sustaining 3 movies, but they should have been in college probably the whole time. They should have started as freshmen and we should have watched their college career and then end it with graduation is probably what I would have done.
Yeah. And I can even see it being like what they did, like the time frame that they did it, but just focusing the story in more on on the actual, like keeping the spirit of that first one, the competition and the camaraderie between them and making it work. Now, I understand that the second one we talked about how it doesn't feel like it has a voice. And in a way, that's the story of the movie for the characters, is that they've lost their sense of identity as the Bellas, right? But I don't know. It's a complicated thing. I want to talk about this movie continues a Pitch Perfect trend where the bad guys really do not become like the bad guys anymore. So like early on in the first one, the bad guys are the troublemakers. They're the ones causing all, that are always beating them, giving troublemakers become basically a non-factor by the end of the movie, right? Same thing as the second movie. Sound Machine, they do their performance and they're done. There's no like wrap up with Das Sound Machine after the final performance by the Bellas. And then here, Evermoist, they just disappear into the night. Like they're there one day and they're gone the next. So like all the rivalries they have don't really come to conclusions. They always get put off for some, like some other bigger thing. And maybe that's not important, but I just think it's interesting that they did that like 3 times in a row.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's hard to make. How are you going to make an a cappella group a true villain, By the end, you got to like them all, I guess.
I suppose.
And that's why the story, in my opinion, is the first one is fine. The first one is what it is. And the second one, you honestly should focus on the troublemakers. What are they going to do to overcome and beat the Bellas? Do they? You still have the Bellas there, but then you keep that spirit of competition alive as if they have to do that. And then you're seeing a different kind of side. You just shift. And then again, the third one is they come together and they're graduating and it's one aqua group. And then they make the whole college better and happy and wonderful. And everybody wants to be part.
Now,
Flash on that shit.
The exact blueprint here is not exact. Okay. There's a little bit of like skipping a couple movies. The blueprint is Rocky. All right. Rocky 1, Rocky does his best. He doesn't necessarily win in the end, but man, he showed them, right? Rocky 3 lost. Rocky 3, he gets cocky. Now he's doing commercials. He's fighting Hulk Hogan. He's all cool Rocky. But guess what? Clubber Lang is training every day. He's getting there. That's what they need in that second. The young, up and coming a cappella group to knock them off their pedestal, make them find themselves. And then Rocky 3, what do you got? Pitch Perfect 3.
Redemption.
5. Drago. We're going big time. If I can change, you can change. All right. That's the blueprint.
Yeah. Yeah. They should have made Pitch Perfect a sports movie.
They should have made it singing Rocky.
Yeah. I don't hate that. I do not hate that when you.
I'll be honest. The Rocky franchise is such a great blueprint for most stories.
You're not wrong. I think it definitely could be. Let's talk about the music.
Forgettable.
Yes, that's what I was.
Everything except for Toxic is 100% forgettable.
The music,
and the moments with the bands that you guys were talking about earlier, those are pretty good, but they're still forgettable.
Yeah, I thought the riff off was the letdown, not performance wise, but just song choice wise.
Yeah.
Just overall, I was not hyped on the music choices this time.
No, and yeah, like you said,
Toxic was really good, but like you said, we got that in the very beginning.
If that one hadn't happened at the very beginning of the movie, it would have also been forgettable. It's because it's part of that opening, and because my wife screamed out, they should have done Britney a long time ago. And then it's the Hannah Mae Lee going like this to do the wow, 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 wow noise. It's the only one that stands out in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the soundtrack right now, and you've got Toxic, Get the Party Started, Fly Away by Lenny Kravitz, Zombie.
Yeah, Zombie.
By the Cranberries, Cheap Thrills, Cake by the Ocean, Freedom, 90 by George Michael. Like, what are
that was the big song they sang at the end. She sang another cover.
She sang Freedom 90 again, and then they threw cups in there a little bit.
After the whole point of the movie. After the whole
gotta
point
throw cups in.
It's Perfect too.
It's just these songs, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's true.
I did like the subtle reference to the cups craze where they were like, we brought this just in case. And then she swatted the cup out of her hand. I thought that was pretty fun. I did appreciate it.
Interesting.
Outside of that,
that was a good little joke where she's like, I brought this. Get that out of here.
And outside of that, everything else was, again, just this movie is just very forgettable overall. Like, again, it's enjoyable for the hour and a half.
Yes.
And then I won't want to watch it again.
I
won't think to watch it again, but if it's on TV, I'll be like, oh yeah, forget this movie's done.
No, I would. This is a franchise where I think it ends after the first one. You just say no, and they never made any more.
Yeah.
You could definitely do that. Like I could watch Pitch Perfect, I think, at any point and be cool with that. That's definitely well, if it's on TV, I'd watch it and not like hate it. It would be fun.
Yeah.
With the ones I don't even think I'd turn on necessarily.
Just YouTube the individual performances.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So I'll be interested to see kind of what the TV show does with this franchise, since it's going to be largely new people, which is truly the only way to make this work. Is you can't keep doing the Bellas. So I don't know the premise of the show other than it's got Bumper back and I think Flula Borg as his weird German character. But that's the only future for this franchise I see, is if this TV show works out.
What is this TV show? Is it going to be on Peacock?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick and see what it.
Yeah, because I'm intrigued. Because I mean, my first instinct is you've got to take us back to the original. So I do think that you have to bring in Bellas to some extent. But if it is
to some extent,
then I don't think it's going to be that, because you have to have coaches. Like they're going to be coaches and they're going to be incorporated, but like they need to be coaches for younger people to do singing and the performing.
Yeah, I mean,
try to.
I don't.
Time.
And if it's still based on the Bellas specifically, then there's no reason not to occasionally have like someone be brought in as being like, hey, it's one of our older members. They're going to come in and talk to you guys or whatever for an episode.
I'm not seeing a premise for the show yet, which is interesting because it says it's going to premiere in November, but it's called Pitch Perfect Bumper in Berlin. And it stars Adam.
I'm wrong on everything I just said. They will not be doing this.
It stars Adam Devine, Flula Borg, Jamila Jamil, and Sarah Hyland, which is a pretty good cast, I think.
That should be great.
I found a one-sentence description on IMDb.
Oh boy.
It says, Bumper moves to Germany to revive his music career after one of his songs becomes big in Berlin.
Honestly, into that.
I'm okay with that if they lean.
That sounds like it could be funny.
Sure.
I imagine Bumper having a really bad viral hit in one country, and then like it's what
this is Dustin or oh my god, David Hasselhoff.
Oh my god, I was thinking, what does the fox say?
There will be a David Hasselhoff cameo. I can almost guarantee that. Unfortunately, we will probably not get a like Ben Platt, Skylar Astin cameo in that show, but that would be pretty fun.
Probably not. It does seem like a ripe opportunity for cameos from previous cast members, but interesting.
For like Rebel Wilson to show up just like at the very end.
Oh yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm sorry.
She says some weird stuff.
I don't know how they're going to do that. I mean, the show sounds great, but it doesn't seem to incorporate the
I'm going to give it a shot. I enjoy Pitch Perfect as an idea.
And Flula and Adam are hilarious.
You imagined a completely different premise for the movie though, Garrett, which is pretty fun.
And honestly, Peacock shows are not that bad. They're pretty funny.
They're not. They do a good job most of the time.
So
we'll see.
Great.
I mean, you know what I will say, even as the franchise itself, in my opinion, overall got worse, and David will get into the box office and see if it continued to improve or if this plateaued. But I'm not turned off. Overall, I still had a very positive experience with the franchise, enough to give the show a good shot and to think that it could be funny. Yeah, it might not be good, but I bet it'll be funny.
Yeah, at no point do these movies like ruin the franchise or like sour my opinion on it. It's just like, okay, I don't want any more of these movies. You want to try something else, and I might bite, but I don't want another one of these movies. All right. On that note, let's talk about the box office.
So interesting numbers for Pitch Perfect 3, I think. Pitch Perfect 3 will get on our Wayback Machine. We'll go back to December 22nd, 2017. Very similar story to Pitch Perfect 2. That's our debut weekend. Pitch Perfect would open in the number 3 spot. It was one of 5 new movies opening at the box office that weekend. 3 of those movies would finish in the top 5. However, all of them would finish behind in its second weekend Star Wars Episode 7, The Last Jedi, which brought in $71.5 million. And the number 2 spot, also opening that weekend, was Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, 36.1. Pitch Perfect came in number 3 with 19.9. The Greatest Showman comes in at number 4 with 8.8. So
Love
a lot
that
of
movie.
demo crossover there, I would think. And at number 5, Ferdinand was in its second weekend with 7.3.
Ferdinand, starring John Cena.
Starring John. He is a bull. So that's a pretty crazy weekend. One to have. The other 2 movies that opened that weekend were Downsizing and Father Figures. Out of 5.
Oh, downside.
Or in the bottom 5 of the top 10. So yeah, that's a stacked weekend. That's a lot of new movies coming out. Also, you had Star Wars still in. Pitch Perfect 3, I should say, would go on to bring in $104 million in the United States, which is worse than Pitch Perfect 2, but still better than Pitch Perfect 1. It brought in $80 million overseas, which again, worse than 2, better than 1, for a worldwide total of $185 million, which again is right there in the middle. So it was here, and went here, and it went back down. So it was kind of clear. They saw, okay, this is going down. Let's not belabor this too much, I think. With 185, though, with 104, that's good enough for the number 29 spot for the year of 2017. Number 1 was obviously The Last Jedi, followed by, Josh, you guessed this last week, Beauty and the Beast, followed by Wonder Woman, then Jumanji, and then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. If you're interested in movies from 2017 that we've already reviewed, go check out John Wick Chapter 2,
John Wick
Last
June.
Jedi, John Wick June. That was a great weekend or series. Guardians Volume 2, we've done a recording for It, which came out that year.
Yeah.
And you guys did one for Cars 3 before I joined the show.
Oh, that's a shame.
So there's your 2017 rundown for so many seasons.
Why did we do that?
Don't.
I'd say Cars 3 is much better than Cars 2. I think a big step up there.
I genuinely can't remember.
I don't.
tried to block them.
Yeah.
Cars 2 is bad. Cars 3 is actually pretty solid. I think they should
Easy to-
ignore Cars 2 and just watch Cars and then Cars 3 and you'll be all right.
That's the one where they go like, I don't know. I don't think I like
It's the one where
Go back and listen to our review to find out.
John, I'll tell you what it is, Garrett. I'll tell you what it is. It is Rocky 3. Cars 3 is. Lightning's getting hot on himself. A new young rookie is getting better. Knocks him off. He has to relearn he has to go back to basics. Anyway.
I do think it was better, but I still think it was better.
It is. It's much better than
Always
Cars
like
2.
back to basics then. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, worldwide numbers are pretty much the exact same, except Fate of the Furious and Despicable Me 3 work their way into the top 5 on those worldwide numbers. So there you go. That's it for 2017 box office for Pitch Perfect 3, finishing sort of in the middle of the first 2 movies. I kind of don't know where that means for the box office score, but for the reviews, but I actually assume it's worse than the first 2.
So I've got some fun Letterboxd reviews to share with the class. I always love doing this part because the Letterboxd community, very funny people.
Yeah,
Very funny.
I wish I could be this funny sometimes.
So one of my favorite ones, because it's just so simple, is atrocious. I don't even fully know what this means, but I'm going to read it. This is from Letterboxd user Carr, who gave it 2 stars and said, "Not to sound like a white man's whore, but I miss Jesse. Pitch Perfect did that, and by that I mean severely decline in quality over the course of 3 movies.
Yeah.
So many choices were made and they were all wrong." And then here's a good one. "The fact that they sing Toxic by Britney Spears makes this film 10 times better than it actually is."
I think that's a fact.
With those
Highlight.
reviews in mind, what do we think? I don't remember. Did Pitch Perfect 2 dip into the 2s, or was it still above a 3?
I feel like it was like 3.
I think
it was
you're
like
right.
right at 3, or it was 2.9. I feel like I go first too much. Josh, you go first.
Okay, 2.6.
Ooh.
That's where I'm going to land, I think.
I'm going to go with 2.3.
That's what I was thinking.
Ooh, it's pretty.
I'll go too low, and I'll say a 1.9.
Woo! We don't often hear ones out here these days.
No, we
I saw a movie
don't.
I saw a movie that was a 1.9 on Letterboxd the other day, and I went, "Oh my gosh, this has to be so bad."
I will go ahead and confirm to you that David went way too low. It's
Way too
not
low.
a 1. It's not in the ones. But the winner this week, and I don't like when this happens because it makes me feel weird, but it's me.
Yay.
It's a 2.6 exactly. I promise I did not see the score. But 2.6 is what the Letterboxd community thought of Pitch Perfect 3. So, I guess to wrap up, what are our ratings? And then this is probably going to be I could probably guess this, but then how do we rank the series? This is 2 stars for me.
Yeah, it's 2 stars for me. This movie's okay.
And for me, the ranking goes 1, 2, 3.
See, I go 1, 3, 2 because I have no purpose for 2, and 3 is entertaining on the standalone.
For me, I feel like it's a 2.5. Only saved by the smallest things. And I would say, and which is still worse than my Pitch Perfect 2 review. But yeah, I guess I will say 1 and then end it there. No, I'll say 1, 3, 2.
Fascinating that you both thought 3 was a worse movie, but liked it better than the second.
It's just so much easier to follow.
It is
a
easier
weird thing to say about a Pitch Perfect film.
But it could have gone either way. I think that watching them in succession, I think that 2 was a good movie. That it tried to build on the story, it just didn't quite do a good job. This one went back to, nah, man, we're just going to throw that away. And because it did that, it is a worse movie, but still more entertaining than 2. Because now I have no purpose for 2. I can watch 1 and it's a good movie. 2 tries to advance the story, but I know the story doesn't advance, so I'm just going to skip it and watch 3 if it's on TV.
Yeah.
I don't like my choices. I would rather just watch the first one and pretend.
I was quite. I would say I was quite bored after the second one. This one I wasn't bored, but I was like, that wasn't great. But it felt like it got over with fast enough for me. And I have a 1-year-old running around here causing havoc. So if I can manage to catch it all while he's doing his thing, you did your job.
Interesting. All right. That completes our Pitch Perfect series. Maybe down the line, if we feel so obliged, we might talk about the show at some point if we liked it, or just, some small chat, not a whole episode or anything, but maybe we'll revisit it down the line. But let us know what you thought about Pitch Perfect 3 and the rest of the series on any of our social media channels, which you can find at somanysequels.com. For people listening to this now, being when it's released, we'll be back next week with It's Gonna Be Fun. It's gonna be fun. We're getting into spooky season.
It's time to get spooky.
I won't tell you yet exactly what movie we're doing next week, but I will say, get ready for Halloween.
Yes.
So many scares. Although next week won't be scary.
No.
There's a hint.
Scary.
Not scary, but
First it was spooky, then it was scary.
yes, so many.
Then it was
scares
scary in a
this
fun
year.
way.
We'll see y'all next time.